So listen, everybody that watches this knows that it's the Value Podcast. This particular season is called Jamel, I Have Questions. And I bring the guest on and I let them ask me a few questions. So today I got the sassy diva. Starting out with the name Sassy, I feel like I'm gonna get some real interesting questions, man. But I'm not gonna hold you to it.
Interesting, maybe.
Go
Um,
ahead. I'm ready. I'm ready for you though. We up
so
early too. We up early in here.
it's mad early. I feel like I'm about to go to work. Not that any or all of these questions are personal experiences, perhaps, maybe not, but we'll see. First question. His son,
Mm.
and this scenario is 7, showed her daughter, and this scenario, she's 10, porn.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Is this your question, or did you
Yeah,
get
these
two
are my
questions?
questions, but
Okay. Okay.
they don't necessarily, they're not applicable to me.
I got you. I got you.
Not
Okay. Hit
all
me
of
with.
them, at least.
Start it over, please.
Okay. So in this scenario, for this question, his son showed her daughter porn. Now what?
His son showed her daughter porn. Here's my question. Right out. Here's my question to you for that question you gave me before I answer. How did the son get access to this?
A friend stumbled across it. It's on his phone.
Okay, right out the gate, I would not get mad at the son or the daughter. I would need to find out the root of where this source came from because one, the son had to have access to some type of internet activity. And kids are not that savvy. I mean, unless they went to the store and brought their own device and plugged it up to the internet or connected to a Wi-Fi network, they had to have access through some type of parental, somebody left the window open. So that would be the route that I would try to take is find out the root of how did this son even get access to this material. I wouldn't get mad at the son. I would sit the son down and the daughter and explain to them what they were looking at and how it's not benefiting to their life and how it's negative and how it's not, something that they should be looking at. Of course, giving them the parental, advice that you would give them. But after that, I would not make them feel like they're wrong or they're bad for what happened. I would definitely let them know that this is not the stuff that you want to be looking at. But then after that, now it's time to take steps to find out the root of how did they even get access to this material?
So do you think those two individuals should stay together?
The two kids?
No, the two parents. Let's say they're dating. Like if they're married, I guess, but they're just dating.
Okay, let me dig in. Were the children under the roof of the same parent, or was one child another child, one child another parent? Like, did
From
one
what
child belong to another
it's
parent and one child was with
yeah,
another parent?
yeah. It's
And then
it's
these children, go
they
ahead.
were in the same house when it happened, but the son is his, the daughter is hers, and it's a blended situation.
I think after the conversation is had and we find out how this child got access to this, if it is by one of the parents, then I would revisit this relationship and see if I want to move forward with this relationship because how is your son getting access to this? And if your son or your daughter got access, well, it was the son that brought it to the daughter. So if the son got access to it through a particular parent or whatever that route was, then I would need to reevaluate this relationship and then even ask this person that I'm seeing, hey, is this something that you're viewing? And if then you have to figure out, do you want to tolerate that? Because some people don't have problems with that, you know?
Hmm.
Some people may come to an agreement, that word agreement, where you know what, it's okay that you look at that, but can you put some more security barriers so your son doesn't get access to it and then it doesn't impact my daughter who he's showing it to? But then we should also be concerned about the child. If the parent is not, if the parent that allowed that child to have access to it just brushes it off, I would definitely reevaluate that relationship. Like, okay, wow, you don't even care about your son at that age, looking at that, at any age, looking at that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for that.
Wow. Early in the morning, we got the porn question.
I mean, I told you it was going to bring some.
Nah, it's good.
Next question. And this one it was kind of me, when I was in my 20s.
Real quick, let me go back to the porn scenario. I
Oh,
think
okay.
that conversation needs to be had with those kids very soon because I remember I think I was like, I don't know if I was like 11 or 12. And without going through the whole story, I remember there was a magazine that we found on the school playground. Um, and it was like one of those pornography magazines. You know what I mean? We didn't have any internet like that. You know what I mean? But it was
Yeah.
magazine. So we were looking at it, walking to school, like, whoa, look at this. And those images actually scarred my mind. You know what I mean? It had me intrigued, like, man, I want to see more. So even though that child's young, I would definitely have that conversation with that child as soon as possible because who knows what those images did to that child mind.
All right. So the next question, um, this kind of not in connection with the previous one, but just general question, like as a parent, I don't know, and this wasn't explained to me. How and when do you have the sex talk with your child?
Mm, that's very
Like,
interesting.
I didn't have that talk growing up. It was just don't do it or you'll die. Not literally, but as my daughter is getting older, I'm like, I gotta have this conversation and I don't know how.
Yeah, I believe I believe like that's at every parent's discretion because they know their child, and we definitely live in a society now where the generation is growing up a lot more fast. They got access to so much information, whether it be books or whether it be internet articles, whether it be their peers that they're around, they're learning stuff. And now sometimes it forces the parent to have this conversation sooner than later because the child may come home and be like, well, ABC said this and they said this. And you're like, okay, whoa, it's not even time for you to have that conversation. But I think that's to every parent's discretion. I know with my particular daughter, we had the question. She's 10. I think it was at 9 because she's very inquisitive. And I've met a lot of kids who are 8, 9 years old. They're very inquisitive, like, not just coming out like, hey, tell me about sex, but hey, I know how I got here. You and mommy laid in the bed, and then it's how I got here. It's like, what do you do with that? Now you're like, okay, it's time for me to explain this to them about sex, how having it prematurely can have this happen, and not, me personally, when I did this with my daughter, I didn't come from a hell and brimstone type of manner. Like, well, if you do that, this is what's going to happen to you and your life is going to end. I'm not trying to scar my daughter with something that I believe God intended for us to do eventually at a certain age with people. I'm not going to do that.
Right. Okay.
I think parents definitely need to use discretion because some parents may move too fast and think, oh, I'm about to just tell them. Well, you need to gauge your child because your child might not be prepared for that, and you may scar your child.
Well, I had like she asked questions as far as like puberty, changes to the body. She's aware of her anatomy, male anatomy, as she has a little brother. But as far as like the grit and the grimy side of it, actual intercourse, she's not aware of.
Yeah,
She's going to middle school in the fall.
yeah, and they
So I'm like, okay,
they
mom, you
talk.
gotta grow
Yeah, they
up.
talking about some stuff out there, and I got to give out. Let me not take all of this credit. I got to give credit to her mom because her mom does an impeccable job at breaking that stuff down. I would honestly say I gave surface, very surface, and when I spoke to her mom gave in depth but very skillfully. I mean, of course, as a woman talking to another daughter, talking to a girl, it's different from that.
Yeah.
So with a woman, I think I think it may be easier. Not saying it's not. Let me not say easy because it could be difficult, but I'm just saying I think coming from a woman to another little girl would be easier in that perspective versus a guy kind of like, guys, we kind of like, man, I don't even want to talk about this, man. No, I don't
Right.
want to talk about
Yeah.
you doing. I don't want to talk about you doing nothing. But that's not even good
Yeah.
for a dad. A young girl needs to hear her dad assuring her that eventually, if this takes place, this is what it is. And I was very surface. I'm admit, my daughter's mom went all the way in.
I guess I just can't wrap my head around my daughter growing up.
Yeah, I can't listen, man.
That's the part. Like, wait, what?
Some things showed up on my. I mean, I'm not even gonna expose her life, but some things showed up on her, and I was like, "What in the world is going on?"
Oh, wow. Yeah. So, this question, which I really am hoping you can give some sound, solid information that touches the younger audience, because this is when this cycle tends to begin. How does one break the cycle of going back to toxic relationships?
What's interesting is, and everybody's different, that at some point, I know my mom used to say this. I just heard her words come to my head. My mom used to say, as she used to say, Jamel, at some point, you have to get sick and tired of being sick and tired. And when I was growing up, I used to be like, what is she even talking about, man? And she used to always say, like, Jamel, when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, then you'll leave that alone. When I was out there on the streets dealing with certain friends, having run-ins with the police authorities, she'll be like, Jamel, I'm telling you, when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, then you'll give that up. And I think for some people in relationships, you'll get to a point where you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. Like, you know what? This is not evolving me. This is not producing any growth. And it's not easy, but at some point we got to put our foot down and say, you know what? This is toxic. It's not healing me. It's killing me. It's not fulfilling me. It's draining me.
But to even know what toxicity looks like.
Right. And then we have to define, what does toxicity look like? What is that relation? How is a person coming up with the language or the vocabulary to even say I'm in a toxic relationship? I would have to hear what that, because toxic, for some people, toxic may not be a person yelling at them. They probably accustomed to that. Like, this ain't toxic. But for another person, that's toxic. For one person, toxic may be they maybe the man's hitting them, or the woman's constantly verbally belittling him, and he looks at that toxic, and she looks at the beating toxic. So they may be levels. Everybody's toxicity is different. Somebody may say, man, the fact that you just always grumpy is toxic to me. But here's the thing. No matter the level of the toxicity, if it's not producing growth, it's toxic. Because if people are in a healthy relationship, they should be growing. Both parties should be growing as individuals and collectively. If that's not happened, then we had a question, okay, what's going on here? It may not even be a toxic relationship. We just need to reevaluate some things and how we're moving forward. But if let's say month after month after month after year, we're not growing collectively, and maybe you're growing as an individual, but we're not growing collectively, we made to look and say, you know what, is this relationship healthy? Is it beneficial to production? That every time you come around, you got some gloom, doom, bad, sad, depressing, low energy, low value message or aura about you. Doesn't make you a bad person. It's just like, look, listen, man, we're trying to grow, and you're bringing this toxic around, and it's bringing everybody else down. If something's bringing you down on a continual basis, I may label that as toxic, especially in an intimate relationship. Like, man, as soon as you wake up, it's just something. You mad. What you mad about? You know, do you need counseling? And here's the thing, some people don't even want to take that step. They know they're toxic, and they like, I don't want to do nothing about it. I'm here to spread the toxic.
But I think that goes for like family as well.
Yeah, here's the thing. Even if a person is like that, we gotta dig deeper. Where did that even come from? Because people just don't wake up and say, I want to be toxic, or I want to be angry, I want to be this way. Now it's a deeper root. We got to look back at a person's childhood, and then look at their parents and their parents, because maybe their parents were toxic, and they end up adopting a toxic lifestyle, a toxic mindset. But even in that, nobody shouldn't have to tolerate it. I always say this, especially when it comes to women. Women have a lot of power. A lot of power.
We don't understand the power we have.
Women, I want to say kudos to the women, any women listening to this, any women watching this. You guys have a lot of power. And I'll give an example. When I'm in the marketplace handling business, when I see men walking with their pants sagging all the way past, almost practically off their body, to me, it's toxic. That doesn't. I'm not saying that guy is bad. Just the what should I say? The image that he's portraying is toxic. Now the woman, I know I'll probably get a lot for this, man. It's okay though. The woman that's walking with the man, I wouldn't even say man. Oh, I'm gonna get a lot for this. The woman that's walking with the man, the boy in a man's body, has the power to have that man pull his pants up. She can't get mad at the toxic behavior. She's agreeing with it by not saying anything. If women say, you know what, I'm not messing with you unless your pants are pulled to your waist, men will have their pants pulled up to their waist, fastened, belt, everything.
I was telling a friend of mine the same thing. Like if women, collectively, if there was just like a set of standards we all had, men wouldn't have a choice but to raise to the occasion.
Here's the thing. Women have the power either, raise their standards like, hey, I'm not saying, you walk around like you're on this pedestal, but raising your standards like, hey, this is the standard in my life. And I can't, here's the thing. All women don't have powerful women in their lives. So some may not understand this. Some women, we got grandmothers now that are in their 30s.
Yeah.
You're having babies. So nobody's even teaching these women. And kudos to the women out there that do have, programs and things of that nature put in place for young ladies. And even for the men that have stuff out there for young guys, because not all guys are walking around sagging. But back to the point that if a woman sets a standard, men have no choice but to come up, or it's going to push that man away and say, I can't mess with her. And it's not even, and some guys will say, man, her standards are too high. No, her standards are not too high. You just have standards in life that she has, you have to respect and honor. One may be pull your pants up. One may be, no, I don't want you cussing. And that, some people are not, it's just different variables that impact that relationship. But women set that standard and live by it.
I'm a teacher, as you know, and some of those things you mentioned, my students know, like when you come in my classroom, Miss Cook not dealing with that. You can't cuss. You got to take your hood off. You got to pull your pants up. If you're a girl with your stomach out, you got to cover it up. We ain't selling skin today is what I tell them. We ain't selling skin. Cover that up. And of course, Miss Cook, you do too much. But needless to say, that's the standard.
No. What age, what grade level was it?
8th grade.
Oh, yeah. You see, the thing is, you're setting whether they understand it or not, you're setting a standard that's going to protect them from life.
I would like
to once you hit life, and here's the thing, everybody may not be listening or taking heed to what you're saying, but once you hit life has another set of standards. And we talking about authority. We talking about government. We talking about police officers. They got standards. And you could think you're going to break those standards if you want. My friend used to say, you don't break the law breaks you. So I thought, listen, I went against a lot of standards growing up. The standards of police and the standards against the government, and it got me sometime put in a cell, or it got me with handcuffs on, or it got me in a bad predicament and had me running places I ain't need to be running because I ain't want to abide by the standards. Now, once again, all the standards that are set from the authorities are not always beneficial or put out for our development and our growth. But I'm just saying the standards that you're setting for these young ladies in your classroom and young guys, it sets a standard for them. It sets a mindset for them to understand the outside life and the outside elements, because there's going to be some and we become adults, and wow, this would help with a couple when in terms of the toxic. I'm glad you used that word standard, because if the woman sets a standard and the man doesn't want to abide by it, or the woman doesn't set the standard, then the man may believe that it's okay just to keep being toxic. You haven't set a standard, miss. Set that standard and let him know that toxic lifestyle, that toxic behavior is unacceptable here. It's unacceptable in my life. It's unacceptable in my circle. And either he's going to adjust or he's going to have to go.
Mm-hmm.
But if you keep patting him on the back or approving it, he's going to be like, oh, this is normal. This is what I do. Especially if it's been normal, his whole life. If he had nobody setting standards in his life. Now he comes into your life, you don't have standards. He's like, oh, this is normal. This is what we do. I break the rules here. I break the rules. I break the rules there. I break the rules here. And she ain't doing nothing. So she must like it. She must love it. She must like this toxic style that I got.
Okay.
Come on.
Well, that's my three.
Oh, that's your three. All right, let's get a freestyle one. Come on, I know you got something in there. I'll,
Um,
I'll let you. I'll let you throw an extra one. Freestyle.
let's see what I got. What would you say are, just going back to toxic and standards and things like that? What would be a starting point for someone who may not know how to have standards, right? Like, I'll give you an example. My growing up, we used the B word. Hey, B, what's up, B? Hey, girl, right? And at a certain point, I got to a point where I was like, yeah, I don't really like that no more. Like, I don't want to be referred to as that. And it took years before I would start saying, don't call me that, right? Don't call me that. And even my sister, best friend, like, all I know, my sister, pick up the phone, what's up, B? What's up, B? And I would tell her, don't call me that. I really don't like that. So, oh, you just so stuck up. You just think you just so better than everybody. And I'm like, well, no, I just don't want to be called that word. I don't like it. So, first of all, it took me some time to realize I didn't like that word. Then it took me even more time to start speaking up for myself. And when I did, from my closest home, my best friend, my sister, I got the you stuck up, which made me think like, oh, well, maybe I can accept it. Maybe I can tolerate it, because if me saying I don't like it paints me as some stuck up bougie chick, I don't want to be that, right? Because nobody wants to be that girl's friend. And then it got to a point where she did it, and I'm just like, stop calling me that. Like, I don't care what you call me. You can tell me I'm stuck up. I just don't like that word. Please don't call me that. And this is my sister.
Yeah.
I talked to her for 2 months because I called her and she was like, yeah, what's up, B? And I was like, I said, don't call me that. Click. And finally, after like 2 years of saying, please don't call me that, 2 months of not talking to her, and this was years ago, we're talking. She's like, yeah, sassy, da 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 da. So my question is, one, how do we get to a point to identify, for people who may not know, how to identify what we want our standard to be and the confidence in implementing them?
I would say this. One, definitely, if you're a woman, connect with other strong women such as yourself. If you can't locate them, I'm pretty sure we can locate it, because the internet is full of everything, and we find everything else. You can find it. Trust me. If you really desire it, you can find it. That's one excuse I don't want to hear from anybody saying, well, I don't know where to look. No, you look on the internet, Instagram, social media, for everything else. You can find that. And understand this, you yourself, and then even at people that are listening to us, because I had to go through this, where you're not better, you're different. There's a difference. You're not trying to say you're better. You're just different. You become a different person. While you were talking, I saw this image, and I believe a lot of people heard of this analogy, but I believe it bears reiterating. When you were talking, it's like a caterpillar crawling up a branch. You're looking at the caterpillar, and everybody may be like calling you, "Hey, what's up, B?" And your friend's like, "What's up, B?" And you're like, "Oh, you just going with it because you're the caterpillar." You know what I mean? And then so what they don't realize, and what they don't see, and what we don't see, is that this caterpillar is on its way to setting standards. So then you have this caterpillar that eventually goes into a cocoon where you may separate yourself, or you may not be with your friends as much. You still hang out with them, and then periodically they say, "Hey, what's up, B? You know how we doing?" You're like, "Oh yeah," but internally you know that there's this growth taking place, and there's this cocoon or this wrapping that's about to take place in your life, and so this caterpillar goes to this cocoon. And we know, so you don't see Sassy for a while, and you don't see Jamel for a while. You don't see whoever the person is listening to this for a while. Their friends don't see him. Maybe it's a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month, and they've been going through this change. And the next thing you know, the caterpillar comes out. There's a different type of standard now. Because now I got to fly. I'm not crawling no more. I got to fly around. I got a different type of beauty. I got a different type of aura to my life. I'm trying to spread my wings and fly. Most people still want you to be the caterpillar crawling up the branch, going to your standard. Now you're the butterfly. You have set the standard. And here's the thing: not that you're better. You're just different. I'm not a caterpillar no more. I'm a butterfly, and I'm not a. And his thing: I'm not a bee no more. I'm sassy. I'm not a bee no more. I'm whatever. I'm not a bee no more. I'm whatever my name is that my mom gave me. And if you don't like that, then I gotta fly. Because setting standards allows you to set yourself apart and stand out. So the butterfly now stands out. It's not with the rest of the caterpillars. And once again, I want to say it again, that it doesn't make you better. You're just different. I have become a butterfly now. Let me spread my wings. And most people don't want you to spread your wings. They rather you just stay down here and be a caterpillar, and we just keep calling each other bees. Now, some people, they may be acceptable to that. That might just be how they click, roll, and do
Yeah.
everything. But eventually, it might not even be the word "be." It might be something else where people are like, "Hey, let's go out and do this, or let's do this," and you got another standard now. And I want to say, like, ladies, don't be afraid to set your standard. Be different. And if people around you, closest to you, cannot accept your difference, then I would almost see it as them trying to clip your wings, and you can't fly like that.